Hi, I'm Barbara Wesley with Double J Media. Here, There, and Yonder is the program that we're doing this evening, and we're having a little visit with our prospective governor of New Mexico. So would you introduce yourself to our audience, please?
Hi everybody who's out there watching. I'm State Representative Rebecca Dow, Republican Caucus Chair and candidate for governor on the Republican ticket for the state of New Mexico.
Okay. So could I ask you, what are you wanting to accomplish as governor?
Yeah, I think the biggest goal that I have is more freedom and less government. You know, I'm in my third term in the House of Representatives, and I've watched this governor have our state be the most locked down, and the consequences of that have been the highest unemployment rate. Our children have suffered immensely in education. We've lost over 40% of our small businesses, and we have an open border. And so those are some issues that need to be addressed immediately. And I saw firsthand this attack on our American way of life, our Western way of life, particularly here in the Four Corners, where there's a radical green agenda that seeks to shut down our industrial parks without any energy replacement. Like yesterday, I was touring the power plant in San Juan, and they're closing that down after the election because there'll be brown outages if they were to do it now. And it will take 3,500 acres of solar panels to replace what that power plant does right now.
Well, one of the problems, someone that seems to have studied it a lot told me that these solar panels are not even manufactured in the United States. They come from China. They also contain a chemical that is poisonous to our environment.
Yeah, and so, you know, 2 years ago, we were energy independent. And not only does New Mexico have the energy that we need to have affordable and reliable energy right here in New Mexico, we have the energy that's needed to make sure that America is energy independent. And this Four Corners area is critical to that. Everything from nuclear to coal to natural gas and all the other byproducts that are part of that.
I know that nuclear has had a bad rep, but France has been doing this for 40 years or more. And we have a nuclear fleet that has provided power when there have been hurricanes and various other things that have wiped out the electrical grid. They've gone in and provided electricity for these islands that are in the Pacific. So,
yeah. And it's a clean energy.
It is.
It's a clean energy, and it's affordable.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So we're headed in the wrong direction. You know, so folks. My dad was an oil field worker. He became a preacher. So I grew up on the pipeline, and I remember when they started closing down the refineries. And just like at that time, now the federal government is incentivizing deconstructing these plants. I joined the efforts in the 30-day session to reopen Escalante. We spent millions retrofitting that plant. It's one of the cleanest power plants in the United States, and we still closed it down. San Juan should remain open. The coal mine should remain open, and we need to add natural gas to our energy portfolio standard. These are jobs. This is how we take care of our families. You know, so that needs to happen, and I'll also want to see the railroad finished so that we can grow manufacturing jobs and grow the agriculture jobs with the Navajo projects up there.
Right, they do. Yeah. They've got a huge facility, and many people, even here in Grants, are not aware of how important that is.
And a railroad would be important for all of us if we finish that.
That's right. So in closing, what would you like to tell your audience?
Yeah, so we are, the primary election is right around the corner, and if you're a Republican, you know, I'm asking your support in the primary. I'm a job creator. I raised my children in New Mexico. I am a proven winner in a Democrat district. My district's 34% Republican. I just won by 57 points. And I'm ready to govern on day one. Legislative experience is something else that sets me apart from the other candidates. I'm ready to govern on day one. There's no time to spare. We need a rapid course correction. And early voting starts May 10th, and the election is June 6th. If you are a minor party, independent, declined to state, other, then you can go in from May 10th and early voting. This is the first year we have what's called the semi-primary open election, and you can say, I want to vote Republican. And I'm asking you to vote for Rebecca Dow. You can find information about me at RebeccaForNM.com. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. My address is, my cell phone number is 575-571-1056. I'd love to talk to you, answer your questions, and earn your support.
We're doing the Here, There, and Yonder this evening, and we're welcoming a candidate for Secretary of State, Audrey Trujillo.
Yes.
I want to welcome you to Grants and the surrounding area. So the first question I have is, why are you running for this position of Secretary of State?
I'm running because I'm a concerned voter. I'm also born and raised in New Mexico, and I believe that our elections need to be secured.
Okay, what do you mean by secured?
That we have elections that people have confidence in, that rules are not loosened during like the pandemic that we had, that people have the ability to go out and vote in person, and there's no kind of nefarious type of things that happening where people do lose the confidence.
Okay. So what else besides that, as Secretary of State, would you promote or accomplish during your terms?
I want to make sure that we have layman terms when it comes to our page. You know, the Secretary of State website has a lot of information. I want to make sure people have the ability to find that information. It's easy, and we streamline things that can be done over the internet, over the computer, you know, for business licenses, things like that. I want to just simplify it. We don't need to have a complicated process, and that will help a lot of businesses, especially our small businesses.
So you want to be able, instead of having to go to our city government to get a business license, we could simply go to the state?
Absolutely.
Okay, that seems to be important. Now, we have, and this is something that I've observed over the years, especially in our community, is that we don't have a unified building code for the state of New Mexico. Every county runs it differently. Sometimes even cities run it differently than the county does.
Right.
And when you get ready to start a building, you may not know all the rules of the game, because someone from the plumbing may come in and say, sorry, but you've got to take this down, and you've just done all the electrical, you've done the sheetrock, you've done, but gosh, he's not going to give you a pass until it's what he wants.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that falls under the Secretary of State, but I think if we had a unified building code in our state, that it would make it easier for businesses to expand. We have a very prosperous and very prominent business here. It took them years to navigate all of the systems to build their new building.
Right. Well, business licenses do come in through through the Secretary of State. Those kind of things, dealing with the codes and everything, would go through your city government. So, and it's the reason why it goes through city government is because each community and each city is different, and the codes are going to be different for each.
But when the state gets involved in it.
Yes, when you get your business license.
No, it's not when you get when they come to approve what you're building, the
Okay.
final, the approval has to come from the state.
Right.
And the code is not unified throughout the state.
Right. Then it does complicate those, you know, being able to pass those codes and make sure that buildings are put together the way they're supposed to be. And I will look into that, because I don't know if that falls within the Secretary of State, because we are the recorder. So you're going to have your county clerks, you're going to have your city commissions, you're going to have all these people that are also involved. But if there is a place where we can simplify, even on just the paperwork and the way to get things done a lot more uniformly, so we don't have all these complications, I'm all for that.
But
And
this particular business said if I knew what I was getting into, I never would have done it.
Right. And see, that's actually taking away the ability to have these businesses want to even start businesses here.
Right.
And we're seeing a lot of red tape. So, like I said, I think less red tape is the best. Simplifying the processes, and then the codes would be another way to simplify those processes. Make sure that, you know, people know what's going on and how to do it, and it's not so scary, because I know a lot of people will not open up in a business because it just seems so complicated, and they just don't want to have the liability and the legal issues that come with opening up a business.
Right. Okay, in closing, what would you like to tell your audience?
Well, New Mexico is a beautiful state. I love New Mexico, and we deserve so much better. If we have an honest, secure elections, that's going to help a lot, because, as you know, elections do matter, and the people that we put in office are going to make these decisions for us, and we got to make sure that our votes are counting. Another thing is, I just want what's best for our kids, our generations. What we leave today is going to affect our kids in the future. I have 3 kids and I love them and I want them to stay in New Mexico, and we've got to make sure that we have a place for them and that they stay here for the jobs.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
We want to thank you for joining us here at the winery on Santa Fe Avenue in Grants. If you're in Grants, they make all of their wines right here in their facility. I'm told that they have some of the best wine in the state. So I want to thank you for tuning in to this segment brought to you by Double J Media, and this program is Here, There, and Yonder.